visitors center.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a tasting downstairs.
Yeah.
La cave en bas, elle reste ouverte, hein, si les gens veulent visiter.
This is the best.
This is the first wine of Haut-Brion. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to taste one vintage
One vintage.
downstairs.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Okay. You want to come with me?
Nih Pak,
Or you can spend the time you want.
ini yang the best. The best ya. Oke. Okay. Nah, Phil,
Where are you from?
Indonesia.
Indonesia?
Yeah.
I have some very good friends from Indonesia.
Yeah.
Yeah. From Jakarta.
This is Indonesian.
Yeah, I know.
You know, batik.
Batik.
You should come and buy one. This one.
I
This
spent
only
the
here.
summer in, of course, I spent the summer in Bali and close to
Yeah, Bali there. Bali, Bali is very nice.
Indonesia.
Yang top mana sih? Haut-Brion. Ini gold.
Iya, Haut-Brion namanya Pak. Namanya Haut-Brion itu.
Ini adil. Main kawan.
Tuh. Ini kerandel medok tuh. Kalau biru medok. Medok Pak, medok.
Iya, kita biasa kan.
Ini ada yang 2016 tuh.
Kalau ini Saint Emilion, kalau merah, sorry Pak. Terus
Apa beli yang ini
Nih,
kan cobain
kalau yang-
apa nih, Bordeaux.
yang ini Bordeaux tuh. Saint Emilion yang kemarin Pomero.
Mau nggak cobain? Botolnya beda tapi.
Indonesia ini.
Yes, yeah.
Ini. You can buy any kind.
We used to drink this, the green one.
Kasih.
It's very successful.
Very beautiful. Tuh Haut-Brion tuh. Wah, Haut-Brion. Bentar. mobilnya di gini. Cok.
Glass of water, so maybe in between wines if you like.
Yang minum cuma berdua, Amon enggak. Thank you.
Hudson belum boleh pegang.
Yeah, enough. Yeah.
Okay. So this is today's tasting. Here, this room, to explain a little bit where we are. You have a stone over there where it's written 1805.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So in 1805, that's the day when the owner of the Château Haut-Brion, he didn't have children. There was no inheritance, and so at the time the vineyard was split between his sister. 2/3 of the vineyard and the winemaking facilities, and then he was split. The last third was given to the nephews, and they got the vineyard, but they built this place to make their own wine. So it was built in 1805 as a technical place, a technical facility, a winemaking cellar. Okay, and so it was called Chateau, and then the nephew sold it back to somebody, who sold it back to somebody, who sold it back to the sister, and so the place, the vineyard was reunited, and they only needed, of course, one cellar, and so this place was redundant. And so it was just a warehouse, it was technical, empty building basically. And here, with the vaulted cellar, that was the place where the white wines were aging. So this place was full of
White wine.
barrels of white wines aging. And when they built the current aging cellars, then they were sent to the more modern facilities. And so now we can, during the past 4 or 5 years, it's been completely redecorated and turned into the visitor center. So we can do tasting, events, like we do this morning. So that's why we are 1805. It's an old building, but it's been turned into what it is today since 2 years only. We opened just 2 years ago. So quite recent as a place where anyone can come and we do wine tastings and events. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So in the envelope, I have put the technical sheet for each of the wines.
Envelope.
So if you want the precise data for the blend, etc., you can have the technical sheet. What we can do is actually up to you. I would suggest we start with. I would suggest if you want to have a tasting, we could do this way. Or, for me, I would start with Saint-Emilion, and then we can move on to Pessac, because then we get to finish with, for me, which is the best one, it's Haut-Brion 2001. So I think it makes sense to do it this way. Okay? So, let's start.
This is a second line.
Sorry?
Second line.
It's a third estate.
Third estate.
Actually, the same owner have 3 different estates.
Yeah.
Haut-Brion and La Mission Haut-Brion. So La Mission you just visited, then Haut-Brion. And actually the founder of the group is Clarence Dillon. Always, so he purchased Haut-Brion in 1935 after the Great Depression. But he always dreamed about also making a great wine of the right bank. He had this dream, like it would be amazing to do the wines of Haut-Brion and to also make a great wine from the right bank. And so now it's his great grandson, the 4th generation, who actually could start a great estate in 2011. Purchased one estate called the Château Haut-Brion, and he renamed it Château Quintus. And now 10 years, so the first vintage is 2011, and 10 years on, it's now a great wine of the right bank, just like his great grandfather dreamed of making. So they have 3 estates.
Okay. How about the Clarendale?
Clarendale is, it started in 2005. That's, in Bordeaux, each estate have first wine, second wine. But here, because it's Haut-Brion, La Mission Haut-Brion, Quintus, even the second wines, they are also fine wines, long aging wines. ones you would open for a special occasion, or maybe a Sunday bottle or your special occasion, because it's always in the world of fine wine. So they decided to also be able to propose a wine that is well made, that is reliable, but that is more affordable and for maybe your weekday table wine. And so Clarendelle is wines that are selected at other growers. The grape don't come from our own vineyard, otherwise it would be too expensive from the get-go. So we have a winemaker who works with us, who's Nathalie Bassot, who goes to other growers to select the wines that she likes, that she thinks are best for that year. So there's no contract going for 2 or 3 or 5 years like in Champagne. It's every year she decides what she finds is best. And then the team of Haut-Brion sits and they make the ideal, the best possible blend for that year. And so it's a wine that is made with the wines from other growers, but the blend is made by the team of Haut-Brion. So Jean-Philippe Damas, Jean-Philippe Masquet, Pascal Baratier. And to propose, so it says on the label inspired by Haut-Brion, because it's that team decides of the blend. The idea is to propose something really well made, very nice, but for your weekday bottle that you can open more often.
There's more social drink.
Exactly. It's a good complement to the wines of the estate that are always for a special occasion.
It is very good. Clarendelle.
Okay. Let's start. I will go from. So this is Quintus 16.
Quintus. This one is more expensive than the Clarendelle, right?
Yes. And this actually is.
Can you see the bottles? Banyak emang semuanya ntar dikasih banyak.
0,3 loh.
Tuh. Saint Million. This one is
Yeah.
Grand Cru.
So you have some pictures here of Quintus, and I will show you when the pictures are Quintus. The idea is have you been to Saint-Émilion before?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We visited
Okay.
2 days. Yesterday. Yesterday already. Two days there, stay there.
Okay. So
In-
you've seen the village and.
And the village is very beautiful.
So it's close by. It's the vineyard is near the village, and then it goes down in between, next to Bel-Air-Monange, and in between Château and Château Angelus. And so Quintus is on a hill. Okay. And the hill has many different tiny plots. There are more. This is Quintus.
Quintus.
That's the estate on the hill. And so you have long lines of vines that are moving back up the slope. That's another picture in the spring. And this is one of the terraces. So you have some places in Quintus where you have 5 ranks of vines. It's pretty small. And you have so many different kinds of slopes. So that means to do the wine, instead of harvesting everything together, they will manage a number of plots differently. It's just like they would do in Burgundy. The situation is plot by plot, and then they will start by making all the different wines before they decide on the blend. So it's very tailor-made in terms of running the vineyard and in terms of vinification. So this is Quintus. The history of Quintus the name of the estate that was on the slope wasn't always called Quintus. The estate was called Tertre d'Auguet. Tertre d'Auguet was one of the finest estates and finest wines in the early 20th century. So we always knew that there is a book actually in Bordeaux called the Coq Séquéré that tells basically the story of the different estates and the different wines, etc. And so the owners, Dylan family, Prince Robert, knew that the quality of the soil of the terroir was great,
Yeah.
because that doesn't move, this is eternal. It's maybe with the proper investment and the proper know-how of the teams of Haut-Brion and la Mission Haut-Brion, when they purchased it, they were very confident that they could make a great wine of Saint-Émilion.
Yeah.
So the first vintage was 2011 with Terre In 2013, they purchased also the neighboring estate that was called Château Larosé. So it made the Chateau Quintus larger, the vineyard was larger, and the advantage of the larger vineyard is it allows the winemaker to make a more precise selection. So 2013 they purchased Château Larosé, and then end of last year, 2022, there was Château Grand Comté, another third estate that was merged with Chateau Quintus. So now it's one of the largest vineyards in Saint-Émilion, and being so large, or being that large now, it allows really a much more precise and much more ideal selection of the grapes for the first wine and the second wine. So it's not just the quantity of bottle, it's actually the possibilities to really get the finest of a larger estate. And so 2016, there's a story that 6-7 years on, Prince Robert wanted to see how the ambition was, if the goal was met, like if the wine was good. First vintage is 2011, so last year, 10 years after the first vintage, he invited all the wine critics of the world. So there's Jenny Choli from Hong Kong, there's Jane Hanson, there's all the different critics, Jancis Robinson, there's James Suckling, everyone gathered in London for a blind tasting of all the different Saint-Émilion from 2011 to 2018, I think, or 2019. And Quintus 16, it was given 100 points twice. So it was a test to see, well, is the quality good enough? Is it does it meet our expectations? And it was this wine in 2016. It was given 100 points, so everyone very happy about that. So it's
100 point.
100 points, yeah. So the finest Saint-Émilion are always what comes to mind is not Figeac, Cheval Blanc, Ozone. That would be the standard. But now, right now, Quintus you could compare to the same league as Figeac or very established great wines. And Quintus 16 now you can feel there's a lot of concentration, but it's also very round. There's a good proportion of Cabernet Franc, but everything is already melted, already blended really. So it's very smooth, very sapid. It's got tremendous length, actually. So you can really take your time between two sips.
It's 15%.
Tapi diminum nggak langsung itu action.
It was very hot.
Pelan-pelan rasa ini.
It's very nice because same as 16, there is enough. Now with the global warming, everyone's very confident at the start of the year that with the global warming, because the temperature are a little bit higher than it was, that we're going to have the ripeness. But the challenge now is to keep the freshness also. It's almost reverse from before, where you're never sure to get the ripeness. Now we get the ripeness, but it also has to be balanced and fresh and easy to drink, because if it's too strong and powerful and it's then you drink a little bit and then it's over. So it needs to be enjoyable, that you can share that style of wine. So Quintus 16, you can feel it's 15-degree alcohol. It's lots of concentration to go with it. The balance is there, but it's also refreshing. That when you enjoy it during lunch, you can have 1 or 2 glasses and you can really enjoy it. So
it's 15%.
Yeah, but it's true that now the greater vintages are the warmer vintages. 2022 in Pessac, but it was true also in Saint-Émilion. There was 3 occasions when the temperatures were more than 40 degrees, more than 40, which is very hot. It's a little bit extreme. So it means we're going to harvest sooner, but the challenge is we need to have the freshness and the acidity. So It was a good surprise actually for 2022 that when we saw those first week 40 degrees, second week, third week, everyone gets, whoa, what style of wine are we going to get? Is it going to be too strong? And actually no, there's also beautiful freshness, so we have both. But it's what happens now is, you could say 15, 16, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23 now. So almost every vintage is warm enough that there is the ripeness. So for us, global warming helps to start with, but the challenges it poses is more about the freshness and to keep the balance and to keep the wines enjoyable. We are not Spain, where they have a style of wine that is just really sometimes very powerful and very strong and long aging.
Yeah.
So if we want to keep the Merlot based, basically, and subtlety and elegance in the wines, we have to keep some freshness and some balance. So
What grape are you using?
So we have on this, there's a dominance of Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon,
Yeah,
and there's a good
Cabernet.
proportion. I think you could see for that vintage the exact proportion here on the spreadsheet, but it should be around 15%
Oh, yeah.
of Cabernet Franc.
Yeah.
It's
30% of Cabernet Franc and 70% of the Merlot. There's no Cab Sav.
There's no Cabernet Sauvignon. So it just goes both for that vintage. The Cabernet Franc, it helps bringing the structure to the wine, and it's part of the style that you will find in Saint-Émilion. Some wines have a much larger proportion of Cabernet Franc. It's quite measured for Quintus, but it's true to really the style of Saint-Émilion.
How many bottles produce every year?
It depends on the vintage, because obviously there's a big variation between the challenging vintage when they have to put some grape down and make some selection and sorting, and a great vintage where obviously the quality is there and they can make more wine. A challenging vintage, for example, is 2013. I think it was almost 1/3 or even more than 30% of the wines that they did not use at all. So there can be huge variations. Yes.
Berasa kencang ya. I can feel the alcohol.
You can feel a little bit. It feels warm.
Nggak
The-
berasa
the-
15%, seperti 13. Tuh, tusuk itu si
Korafin.
Carolyn, yeah.
Iya, bisa langsung diisi nanti, bisa disedot.
Pakai itu aja Pak. Udah ada kok gasnya udah beli.
Tapi apa deh?
Ini lebih bagus, ini mahal. Tanggung. Yeah. The alcohol is making strong.
Action lama, nggak langsung. Reaksinya nggak langsung. Diminum rasanya soft, tapi lama-lama mungkin.
Iya, udah.
Head.
Yo, I can feel it.
Yeah, make sure you drink some water.
Minta air.
It is a strong wine, so. But it's a separate style from, I think, Château Haut-Brion. And so, yeah, before we move on really to Pessac, that is not going to be so powerful. You can have a little bit of water just to observe. Actually, I'll keep the fourth bottle here.
So you don't have a vineyard on the left bank?
Left bank, no, we don't. No, it's Pessac
Pessac only.
and right bank.
Pessac and right bank.
Yeah, Pessac is the
Saint-Émilion.
old. Actually, Haut-Brion is the oldest
Pessac-Léognan.
name, really, oldest wine to have been made with its own label by its name in the whole of Bordeaux. So it's got the longest history of all
Haut-Brion
of the estates.
paling tua di Bordeaux.
Yeah.
The number one, the
It's
oldest.
the oldest.
The
The
oldest
first
in-
time the name Haut-Brion, because the name of an estate, when it changes hands, somebody takes over, like a family sends it to another one. Then the new family might want to change the style of the wine, change the name of the label to make their own wine, their own style, what they
Yeah,
like.
like this one.
So
Mm.
Haut-Brion,
Mm.
it's the first time the name Haut-Brion
Oh, itu
is
yang pertama
written.
tuh.
It's 1543.
1543 tuh.
1543.
Haut-Brion.
So it's
15th century.
yeah, it's almost 500 years ago. So it's almost the 500th vintage.
It's
very
before-
soon. Now it's 2023. So
500 tahun.
it's
Like
That's-
before our great
yeah, a few
grandfathers.
generations back. I will just
Maybe just after the Jesus.
Yeah, it was
right.
really because what is special. We'll talk about Haut-Brion more, but what was special, it's so close to Bordeaux, so close to the city. So the owners could be in the city, but then they could come to the vineyard very easily because it's so close. And then you'll see when you're outside that the shape of the vineyard is really sloping. Like the estate is, we stand here 13 meters above the estate. And so that place with that shape, Haut-Brion, it means a hill. It's an old French word. It means a hill. And so it was identified as the high hill, which is basically you have to figure out people coming and say, oh, we have the gravels, like the whole region, but there is this hill. So that must be ideal to make a great wine. So very early on, Haut-Brion was identified for that. And then the name, the first time the mention of the name, we have some historians who dug into the archives and trying to find what is the first mention of the name Haut-Brion. It was 1543. So long story. One of the senior really estates in Bordeaux.
Ah. Okay. This is the oldest wine in Bordeaux.
Yeah.
The eldest wine in Bordeaux. So this is La Maison. La Maison is the same with the one we drank before, right?
Yeah. Did you have
It
the
was
first
2000.
wine or the second one?
I don't know.
La Chapelle maybe?
La
Do
Chapelle.
you remember the
Let's-
ones you had for a tasting?
Let me see.
No.
It was not this one. Yeah. La Chapelle, correct.
La Chapelle. So La Chapelle 2017, I think it's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
second wine.
The second one.
Yeah.
Line, second line. This one is the first line.
This one is the first one. And for an older vintage, a more mature. Yeah, okay.
Ini
Ini pasti banyak nih. Bisa fly.
ya.
This is
Ini soalnya mahal pak.
Mission Haut-Brion.
Testingnya pak.
Kalau saya beda.
La Mission.
Thank you. Just right here. Can we borrow the bottle after that, please? Can we borrow the bottle? Thank you. Ini pak, botol.
Soft banget.
And so La Mission Haut-Brion, completely different story and identity for me and I enjoy La Mission. So La Mission,
Yeah.
Mission is another name in French for a monastery, right, with the monks. Okay, and so it was owned by the church, by the monks. They were doing the wines. You have seen maybe at La Mission, you have some paintings.
Yeah,
with
yeah.
The monks drinking wine.
Yeah, it's very religious
Yes.
over there.
So it used to be the monks, for the
Monks.
monastery. And so the wine was only for them and for the Lord, of course, but it was not.
Oh, dulu buat
It was not proposed outside. It was not.
Kan
It
tanya
was only
sama
staying at La
sama
Mission.
Tuhan.
And so, when the French Revolution happened, so 1789, 1790, all the church and the monasteries, the French Revolution didn't want any other power, and so they sent away the monks, and they had
Itu
to
belum malah
flee.
yang belakang.
And the state confiscated La Mission Haut-Brion and told the monks, okay, you have to go, and we take the estate. So the monks went to Spain, but then the state, after they take La Mission, confiscate La Mission, they're a state, they don't know how to make wine, so they were like, what do we do with it? And so it was sold to somebody, and then it changed hands a few times, and then there is a Volkner family who was owner of La Mission Haut-Brion during a good part of the 20th century. And eventually the Dillon family, the current owners of Château Haut-Brion, purchased the Brion in 1935 after the Great Depression. The neighbors were still the Volkner family. And in 1983, so much later on, the Volkner family proposed to the Dillon family, their neighbors, like, do you want to purchase and to take over La Mission Haut-Brion, and then you would have the two neighboring estates. And so La Mission Haut-Brion has the history is very rich with it was the Père Lazariste, the monks that were there, and the wines really get a reputation because they are starting to be enjoyed outside of La Mission, outside of the estate, only much later on in early 19th century. And so that's why also, when you have the 1855 classification, La Mission Haut-Brion, it's not in there, because 1855, it was barely 60, 70 years after the French Revolution. And so the history of the wines outside La Mission, the wine was not well known enough at the time. So it was not considered for the 1855 classification. And the second reason is the 1855 classification is the classification of the wines of the Médoc, the Lac Franc. But they also decided to include, so they decided to make fur for growth. Château Latour, Château Mouton Rothschild, Château Lafite Rothschild, Château Margaux. And they also made an exception. They say we should also include Château Haut-Brion, even though it's not in the Médoc, because it's the senior really, of all the. That's where, in the history, it's a senior estate in Bordeaux, and it's also most innovations in winemaking, in modern winemaking, they were invented at Château Haut-Brion, and then they spread to other estates. And so, as a whole, it was very important to include Château Haut-Brion as another first growth, because it's the oldest one, and the tradition of innovation really at Haut-Brion.
Haut-Brion. This one is La Mission, not Haut-Brion.
So this one is La Mission Haut-Brion. The difference between the two, actually I could pour the two if you want to compare, but the difference, so 2008 is one of those classic vintages.
2008.
Yeah, it's 15 years on. For me, it's just the right window where it's fully open, it's the full expression of that wine, and you can enjoy it like the full expression of La Mission Haut-Brion. For one of those classic vintages when you have enough of sunshine, enough rain, enough water, enough humidity, enough of each of the elements to have great ripeness, great grapes, actually in perfect sanitary conditions for the harvest, but not everything happened very smoothly. Like you could have some the start of the vine that go a little bit colder than usual at the start of the vintage, and then there is some catching up later, which means It's not one of those ideal vintages where everything is ideal for every step of the development of the vine. 2008 is a very elegant vintage, and again, especially now, 15 years on, it's very smooth. So you have La Mission Haut-Brion, the style, you don't have this slope, it's a little bit flatter, but the style of La Mission Haut-Brion is always very fruit forward, very open, and very inviting. And so when we, like you are having now, when we taste the two wines, we always start with the wines from La Mission because it's fruit forward, it's open, it's inviting, it's exuberant when it's young, it's very flavorful. That's the style of defining La Mission Haut-Brion. So what is funny is you have a wine critic very famous called Robert Parker. Okay, great influence and impact on the style of the Bordeaux wines. He likes concentration, he likes power, he likes strength in a wine. But he says the wine that he has the most in his wine cellar is La Mission Haut-Brion, which is not powerful at all, which is more elegant and subtle and refined. So this is a one that gains, it's always open and fruit forward, but it gains elegance and subtlety as it ages. So a little bit different than Château Haut-Brion.
Is the owner of the Chateau is
Mahal ya enak.
No, they are living
Ini wine
the
tertua apa di
Chateau
sini?
actually.
3 juta.
It's
Wine
mainly a
tertua di sini.
technical building.
Tertua.
And then very
Bordeaux.
often they have
Jadi,
a house. But they
this
come
is
to,
like-
so they live outside.
Nomor
For
wine
him.
pertama di dunia ya ini.
They live in different places
beda-beda.
all over the world.
Iya beda-beda.
Ini dia
Because it's owned by a
Merlotnya
family. So
343.
you have the brother and sister. And
Harganya
then
Chauvignon 51.
extended family.
Yeah.
So what they do is they have their own lives, they have their own jobs also. So they don't live off the estate. They do other things, like everybody actually. But they gather twice a year. Twice a year. Actually, they gather in 2 weeks as what do you call that?
family day.
Yeah, it's a family gathering, but it's an administration meeting where they review all the what happened in the vintage. They review the figures also, and they decide on the next projects and the investments and so they have a board meeting. That's the word. They have a board meeting twice a year, but it's a family meeting because on the board it's only family members. So they come and then they have one family delegate. One person from the family is the delegate to run full time
Enak banget.
the estate,
Ini kurang.
and it's
Enak.
Prince
Iya,
Robert of
sop,
Luxembourg,
sop banget.
and he comes every couple of months for 1 week to follow everything much more precisely and prepare everything for his cousins. Oh, sorry. So they are very
Anggur.
very present.
Is there have any
fun.
business?
Yes. So there is one person in Bordeaux who is very important. Is
Bonanza.
Baron Philippe de Rothschild. He's the first one. Rothschild, yeah. He's the one who said, okay, we have one estate, so we could either wait for every harvest and then we maintain the estate,
Olive.
or we can
Zaitun,
use
zaitun.
maybe the profits of the harvest
Buah
to
zaitun.
start other businesses and around wine, around gastronomy. And the Dillon family is doing exactly
Sorry.
the same. They have the harvest, but then they open
Enak. Campur sama wine.
negotiant house, which is like a company who sells wine to professionals. They will sell the wine to restaurants, hotels, importers all over the world. That's Clarence Dillon Wines. They opened, that's for me, here it's a wine shop. So they have a wine shop company called La Château. They opened a restaurant in Paris called Le Clarence. They have 2 stars. For 8 years they have 2 stars. And he's doing many other things around the wine world. So he's very much an entrepreneur. He doesn't want to stay still. He likes to try new things and maybe develop the activities, but always around gastronomy, around wine, around also the lifestyle and the tradition and the culture of wine. It's very important. So he said recently,
So delicious. What is this?
olives.
Olives, yeah.
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 Black olives.
Olive. Olive.
Yeah. He said, Prince Robert, so the owner, said, you don't do a great wine just to sit in a corner and to enjoy it by yourself. You do it because you want to open the wines and share it with the guests and with some people. So he's opening a restaurant, opening entities. So he wants to be open to the public, and so people just like now we open bottles and we share them. So it's important to be welcoming to the public, not just make the wine behind closed doors and
I see
send away the bottles.
so many vineyards in Borneo, the famous, they
Yeah.
are not open.
No.
Petrus, they
Closed.
not close.
Even
They color the Petrus to the wall like
Yeah.
right now. It says no
I know,
more
you have-
Petrus,
You have the keys.
and there's no hotkeys anymore.
I know.
But they still open.
It's very hard to get. They will receive some guests, the VIPs, etc. But a tiny number, and they want to remain completely free who they want to invite, and so it's a different way.
Yes.
Here, you were asking Clarendelle. I mean, the owner of Haut-Brion, he doesn't have to start a Clarendelle range that to be more accessible to the
Yeah,
public, but
yeah.
that's the mindset that you
Different.
have to propose some wines for everybody, and everybody find their own style of wine, and there is no, you can, you don't have to, you don't have to enjoy any style of wine, but it's important to propose the wines to all kinds of publics, all kinds of budgets.
Yeah.
It's about having an interest in wine in
The
general. So
Haut-Brion is good-hearted.
yeah, I think so. I mean,
Oh,
I
Petrus
like
dia
it to-
sombong.
the idea that
Like,
Tanya lagi,
you can make a
Petrus
great
kenapa
wine
mahal
and you
gitu.
can be welcoming at
Apa
the same
bedanya
time.
wine-nya gitu loh.
There is no,
Tanya lagi,
you
mungkin
can do
dia
both.
beda lagi om.
why is the Petrus very expensive?
Because the history.
This,
Because the history.
Yes, true.
Petrus. So I would like one day to have a blind tasting of Petrus, La Fleur Petrus, maybe other
La Fleur.
Pomerol, maybe Le Pin, maybe
Yeah.
maybe others. I will enjoy that a lot. But the main difference is basically an accident that the bottle of Petrus finds itself on specific tables with specific guests in the US, and it all starts from there. It becomes a brand, and it separates itself from the other wines of the appellation because of encounters with specific people in the US at a certain time, and it becomes a brand. And then the value goes up tremendously, but it's not just the factor of the wine itself. It's other factors are involved.
What factor?
No, it's just it's the history. You have the same that famous people started to drink Quintus at some point in the history in the US, and so it becomes that wine that everybody wants because that very famous person was enjoying Quintus,
Oh,
and so
it's because of
slowly and slowly people are ready
Pro
to
prestige only.
brand ambassador.
exactly. It's the same as
Brand ambassador maksudnya Pak. Jadi
So
kayak SPG-nya gitu loh.
Iya.
SPG-nya itu kayak
Masa,
Clinton, Bill Clinton drink Petrus.
Yeah.
So it
It's the
grows
same,
the
the same happened in China lately with 2009-10 with Lafite.
Lafite.
Lafite, for some reason, was there when many Chinese wanted to start an interest in Bordeaux, and it started with Lafite. It could have been Mouton, it could have been Latour, it could have been Haut-Brion, it could have been others, but it was Lafite, and so Lafite was separated itself from, gained much more interest, specifically Lafite, than the other Pauillac. It was at the right time, at the right place, maybe, or it finds itself a little bit different.
Why don't you do ambassador as well? the Haut-Brion.
Haut-Brion has been
Apa tandanya
ambassador.
beda?
For us, it's throughout the history. If you have the
Oh.
first vintage is 1543.
1543.
So you can
Wait.
you can compare. The first vintage in history, let's say 1543.
1543 pertama ya. Ini kalau ini menang histori, dia paling lama.
But then you had,
Itu soal beda tanahnya.
Why is the soil different with you?
so the soil is different.
Different?
And in history, Éléonore d'Aquitaine,
Huh?
really a long time ago, she was the Queen of France
Huh?
and she married the King of England.
Oh,
Okay? At the time,
apa ambil kan?
Ambil.
Thank you.
At the time, she brought some of the wines of Bordeaux
Thank you.
into the court of England. And many techniques were invented at the time to change the style of the wine. For example,
Ini pakai olive juga.
the wines that were made in Bordeaux were French claret. They were like strong rosé now, or very light red. But the transportation was long to go all the way to the UK. And so some of the wines were wasted, it didn't arrive, it turned into vinegar, it was not stable. And so at Haut-Brion, they invented the techniques of topping the wine, of racking the wines, of really topping the wine just to make sure that the barrels remain full, to prevent the wines from oxidation. And at the time, it helped the wines reach England with more concentration and no waste. It was called at the time the New French Claret. And so that's one of the reasons when Haut-Brion found itself into the court of France, court of England at the time. One of the owners was the Duke of Richelieu. They were always very prestigious owners because he was always considered one of the finest wines. You also had
That one.
Talleyrand. When he was there, you had Thomas Jefferson in the US when he traveled in Bordeaux, found Haut-Brion and found the other estates as well, but among which Haut-Brion. And when
One aja.
and more recently, you have the founder of the group is Clarence Dillon, 1935. His son, who's called Douglas Dillon, was the ambassador of the USA to France, and he was the secretary to the Treasury, so the finance minister basically,
Ini sayang.
of Kennedy,
Buang sayang.
of John Fitzgerald Kennedy, and of Lyndon Johnson. And so, being owner of Haut-Brion, he took his wines of Haut-Brion into the White House for the dinners, etc. And so that's how Haut-Brion found its way to the court of France, to the court of England, then prestigious owners. 20th century found its way into the White House. So we have what is special at Haut-Brion is being so exclusive, but over such a long period of time. It's very, very impressive that it's not just 20th century accidents. It's been one of the finest wines of Bordeaux for almost 500 years, that's what's really impressive with Haut-Brion. It's history and consistency.
Yeah.
And so here,
Consistency.
yeah, it's always been identified as a great place to make wine. Actually, the house, which was the picture before, the house is mainly, one part is 18th century. At the time, Haut-Brion, the owners, it's still the case now where, the most prestigious apartments in the building, they are on top of are high in the towers, right? We want to be high, or we want to be on the hills overlooking the city. And at the time, he chose to build his house lower than the vineyard, which means that he considered that the vineyard, he could have built his house on top of the vineyard, but he said the vines are so important that I will leave the vines and build my house lower because I consider the vines more important. And at the time it was very strange actually. Like you want to show your prestige and you're the owner, and so you have to be on top of everything, overlooking everything. He chose to have the vineyard first and then to build his house lower, which is remarkable.
Can we borrow the bottle?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think the more famous people, the more lower.
Yeah, it's the more humble. Exactly. Same thing with the owners here actually. Very humble, very low key and very accessible.
This one. Good-hearted
And
person.
so this
Good-hearted person.
So this is 2001, coming after 2000, and it's very similar profiles of vintages where you have during July and August especially.
Satu kelas sama Petrus sih.
20 days or the number of days when the temperature is higher than 30
4,7
degrees.
Petrus itu 4,6.
Alah Petrus Pak, sorry Pak. Petrus below this.
Ah,
The
Ranking.
the ranking.
ranking.
Petrus is
It's a
below
great-
this.
It's a great
This
ranking.
one is better.
It's interesting to see the ranking because the it's not like the more expensive it is, the better it is. It's always different. So you have some very accessible wines that are very very great. And 2001 is one of the great vintages for wine.
4.7 star. I never looked this.
And with
Petrus
almost
It's a
4.6.
Vivino.
and almost 2,000 ratings, so it's
Yeah.
very
Very
documented.
many.
1,900 people to
Yeah,
get
so-
a rating.
2,000 giving rating. 5,000 not giving rating like you.
Nah, ini.
Ini the best Pak. The best of
And
the best.
this one is when you try it,
Berapa tuh harganya?
it's very elegant.
14
Juta. 14.000.
juta.
Ini juga segituan.
At Haut-Brion, in terms of the aromas, you can find the.
Okay, let's drink this. I never
You try.
tried this.
You will see the tobacco notes, tobacco, and leather. It's always there at Haut-Brion. Those type of. Aromas.
I used to drink the Rothschild, but I never drink this. I heard this
Different
one is
style.
much
Very
better
different
than
style.
it. This one is the grandfather of the Rothschild, right?
Of course. But we have more Merlot also. So it's Pessac. It's a different style. But in terms of the history, of course, Haut-Brion is
What do you
completely
think?
apart.
The Haut-Brion sent to Indonesia.
So I cannot send to ship to Indonesia. I could ship to Singapore,
Yeah.
It's harder to.
but it's harder for Indonesia. I think the customs or the duties or
Yeah,
it's a lot
logistics,
harder. Yes,
logistics and the taxation.
exactly. I was checking because I would love to ship to Indonesia, but it was difficult.
Yes.
Are we the first Indonesian to visit here?
No, no.
Oh, serious many?
Yeah.
Oh ya,
Some,
banyak
yeah.
yang orang Indo kesini. Oh.
But it's always because the customs are difficult,
Yes.
and also if you don't want the wines, you want the wines to arrive very swiftly, not to stay 2 or 3 days at the customs because of the weather.
Yeah, yeah,
Even
yeah.
Singapore is the same.
Correct.
When the packages arrive, I want everything to be very swift
Yeah.
because of the temperature.
It's better.
So I can protect the wines, but
And
if it stays half a day, it's good enough. It doesn't need to stay 3 or 4 days until you have some paper and documents and so.
and also the humidity
And
is
the
a problem
humidity
there.
also,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's really humid there.
So I could ship to Singapore.
Singapore, yeah, more professional.
Yeah.
It's more
Or the other idea is if you find in Bordeaux a bottle you like, then you can, I don't know how many you can bring in your suitcase if you have space. But it's the right way to do. If you have 3 suitcases, you can bring 1 bottle each in the suitcase.
Yes.
And it's enough.
Yes.
One, cium, just smell it, just smell it,
Coba.
Just smell it.
Coba dong.
just smell.
Coba dong.
It's a wine of Jesus Christ.
It's really
It's
nice.
a wine of Jesus Christ, man.
Tapi hari ini kalau beli juga mental ini saya beli. Beli berapa duit?
Enggak, ada kok ada.
Hah?
Enggak gitu mahal.
Oh, gitu mah. Di Indonesia 14
It's
juta.
so different.
Very.
Gila,
It's
diminum
just-
3 banyak-banyak tapi dihabisin terus.
It's just like
Semut kan?
it's just like a juice.
Yes.
It's but
It
it
is.
is very sugary.
It's very sapid, but the concentration is there, the aromatics are complex. Lots of leathery notes,
Yeah.
so it's starting to get to the black fruits, the black currant, the blackberry. But you have the leather. It's like entering a cigar shop where you have the cigar leaf kind of notes, the earthy, mushroomy, but in a good way. You still have amazing freshness actually on this one to hold it together, and it's 22 years, but it's 22 years young. It's really in place. It's showing absolutely no sign of. So it's going to.
It's like no alcohol at all.
Yeah, it seems like it's the right time to open, and it's already more than 20 years ago, 2001. So
Udah lebih dari 20 tahun.
it's a great bottle, great one.
Padahal alkoholnya cuma 13.
13.5
Iya.
alcohol. This is the oldest wine at all.
Yeah,
This is the Jesus Christ wine. Jesus Christ wine.
First class.
we go back in time a little bit.
First class nggak akan keluarin ini. Ngawur aja.
So that's why I thought it was
Kalau
better.
tiga di sweet nih baru ini.
I thought it was better to start with Quintus Saint-Emilion
Yeah.
and
Should
then Mission
go
and
there.
finish with this one because
This one cannot be back there.
no,
This one is too strong, I think.
yeah, it's still very young actually.
This two is smooth. This one, I cannot describe it. This is
Maybe
the best
for
wine I
a
ever had.
special occasion.
Yeah, this is the best wine I ever had.
Enak.
Gitu ya kayak gitu apa?
Caranya gitu emang.
Nggak ada.
Mau minum lagi ini kesempatan nggak ada lagi di sana loh.
Udah Pak.
Beli satu.
Minum lagi cobain enjoy. Mumpung nggak bayar men kasih.
Yang tengah dikit aku mau coba.
Ini kasih ini
Nggak, aku
dong.
cobain yang tengah dulu.
Medit amat sih.
Yang tengah aku mau cobain rasanya. Asin ya?
Nggak beda lah ini kan. Ini 52% ya Melo. 36 apanya? Melonya lebih banyak ya.
Jadi
Banyak.
telan, jadi telan.
Banyak ini kan melonya banyak. Kok bisa simpen lama kan? Bisa
This one is contain more mellow than the others.
Yes.
But why this wine can keep long? Sorry,
for keeping
can keep to very long time.
Keep long.
many years,
Yeah.
10 years, 20
It's the
years.
same as so it's not related to having more merlot or
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not related to the blend.
Nggak
It's
ada.
the proportion, it's the balance.
Oh,
That-
balance-nya katanya.
The concentration you have
Konsentrasi.
is balanced by the alcohol and the acidity.
Balance.
If you
Harus
if
balance,
you have enough acidity, then it can carry the wine
Further
further
more.
because it never disappears. So you need to have enough freshness, and then if the concentration is enough, then the aromas will change, but in a nice way. It's never off balance, right? So if you start running, it's like running a bicycle. If you start in a straight line, that's the acidity, then you can go a long way. But if you start off balance, you're going to you're not going so far.
It's like
So
bicycle.
Some wines have too much concentration, so they won't go very long in time.
Yeah.
And some wines have not enough concentration, and so they will fall flat after a few years. And this one has the whole balance and the acidity that can carry it further. So the wine will just change the aromatics, but the concentration will remain there. So it's a long aging wine.
Jadi dia mesti
Can go
balance
50.
acidity sama alkohol.
But I went go to Australia
Yeah.
and we also taste the wine. They mentioned the Merlot.
Yeah.
They said this Merlot cannot keep a long time.
No.
Maximum 5 years.
Yeah.
Merlot on mentioned it.
Merlot is it's the grape that ripens the earliest, and so it's very fruity.
Because in Australia they have the Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, and Shiraz.
Yeah.
They said the Shiraz the best.
For them.
So, yeah,
Because
France is the
Australia has much.
newcomer maybe.
Yeah.
Newcomer.
For me, I think Merlot. I would be surprised in Merlot in Australia because they have so much sunshine.
So much what?
Sunshine.
Sunshine.
Yeah, Australia weather is lots and lots of sunshine, much more than here. And
Yeah.
since Merlot ripens very easily, it makes maybe jammy, like marmalade Merlot. So that's why the aging is not because it's maybe too ripe.
Too ripe.
Too ripe. While the Shiraz,
It's
they
over.
have a thicker skin, and so with so much intense sunshine, they just arrive to the right maturity, and so you can make a long aging wine. But Merlot, it ripens very easily already here in that weather. So normally when the weather is very hot, we keep less Merlot. Otherwise, it's overripe and it's a
overripe.
little bit
Overtaste.
heavy, a little bit over the line. So we want to keep a balance.
Loh, ini udah jadi
Katanya di situ melonya terlalu banyak sunshine.
Bukan, kalau di Australia kan ditulisin Merlot, ya kan? Cabernet Sauvignon, very big. Shiraz,
Yeah, they don't blind.
In front-
They don't blend.
no mention Merlot, Cabernet. or
They
something.
don't blend.
Some estates are doing 100% Merlot, but not in Bordeaux.
I don't, yeah.
Not in Bordeaux, and in Australia, I'm not surprised that with so much sunshine, they must keep Merlot for enjoyable wines, but to drink young, not for long aging. Even if they use the barrel, etc., it's hard. It's going to be too ripe. It's too hot for Merlot. So
Kepanasan buat Melo nggak bisa.
Iya, iya.
they must make some
Di
very
sini nggak ada,
enjoyable wines.
semuanya nggak ada.
The Melo may be different. It differs
different.
between this one and the.
Di Prancis kan nggak ada tulisannya yang ditonjolkan Merlot apa gitu. Kalau di Amerika, Australia dulu kan, setiap kali botol tulisin.
Why do you always blend between Cab Sauv, Merlot, and Cabernet Franc?
So it's the tradition in Bordeaux to adjust. It's one of the ways to adjust for vintage to vintage. They have this blend so they can maintain the style of wine of the estate. If it's a colder vintage, then they can adjust the grape varieties. If it's a warmer vintage, they can adjust as well, so you always recognize the style of the vintage. It's not everywhere the same. For example, Château du Pape has 13 grape varieties, so they can adjust as they want, 13 grape varieties to make their music, to make their wines. Burgundy is one, only one, no blend. So it means in Burgundy, you have the difference for wine is one wine. You have a big, it's very interesting to taste the same wine from 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 vintages because there's big differences. In Bordeaux, you can always adjust the blend so it's more or less the ideal quality that you want to propose.
What's
Maybe it's
the
easier.
Burgundy? The Burgundy is the Burgundy far from Bordeaux.
It's a good 4 hours drive, 4 or 5 hours.
About 5 hours drive to Burgundy.
It's not close. Yeah.
But Bordeaux is always the best.
Bordeaux is
Bordeaux is the best.
many vineyards in the world come from Bordeaux.
Yeah.
The California, it was vines from Bordeaux originally. Tuscany, it was vines from Lafitte that was sent to Tuscany in the early 80s,
Tuscany.
late 70s.
Italy.
Yeah. So all over the world, the winemakers, Bordeaux flying winemakers, they go to do some consulting in China, in Chile, in all over the world really, because they have so much experience in Bordeaux. So there's a lot of knowledge.
Seluruh dunia dari Bordeaux.
Iya,
Awal.
iya nggak, memangnya wine di pusatnya di Prancis.
So once it was painful learn every winery here.
No.
You don't know about it.
They know. They know. I don't think they have a Bordeaux consulting.
Yeah.
They know their thing. They do their thing.
They do that.
You always need people to know their own ground. You can't always bring in some new people with an outside view.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
have to know your
Yeah.
your space. So You can have some consulting with, get a few ideas here and there, but you always have the people knowing.
Di sini udah 500 tahun, 400 tahun, gila ya.
400, 500
Ya,
years.
di Australia mana ada?
Maybe we can live longer than 500
Iya.
years.
Apa benar itu bilang? Di Prancis sih yang umurnya lebih panjang, yang meninggal. Itu karena wine atau benar?
Is it?
Ini
Yeah.
isu aja.
From my dad research, French people died more older than other countries. Is it because of wine?
I think the Japanese live very old also.
Yeah, Japanese.
Maybe with the seafood and that. But in the tannins of the wine,
Capsaicin, right?
yeah,
Italians.
it is antioxidation,
Itu
right?
antioksidan.
And it is we say antiseptic, so it
Antiseptic.
kills the bacteria.
It kills the cancer as well, right?
Well,
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. You say yes, yeah.
Cewek minum
it kills
wine
everything.
sama muda.
But so it helps to kill the bacteria.
Iya, dari Prancis
Kills the
yang ngomong.
bacteria in the blood, right?
Yes, and it keeps the bloodstream running.
Oh,
And so, but it's true for 1 glass of red wine
How?
per day.
This one. Right?
one glass.
1 glass.
This
day.
glass.
Yes. It's,
Full, right?
Yes.
Yeah, full.
Not higher than the top.
This
Not higher than the.
two glass,
Not higher than the top.
Oh iya
It
benar.
works,
Oh dia bilang
two glass per day.
Iya.
no, just one.
Every day.
Two
But
glass
it's
di.
proven by the doctor. It's called the French paradox. So you can look it up. It's actually because you say, including the French government, they're like, wine is alcohol, so we should maybe warn the people not to drink wine because it's alcohol, and tell the young people also not to be interested in wine because it's alcohol.
Perlu ditanyain.
It's proven 1 glass of red wine, so, but it doesn't work with the white wine.
Dia bilang udah lewatin
No,
top.
because there are
Oh iya,
Berarti.
dia pasti.
Dia udah ngomong kayak gitu.
Cuman red wine enggak.
it doesn't
Red
work,
wine only.
It doesn't work with the white wine
Oh, okay.
because there are no tannins.
Oh, no tenants.
But the tannins
White
in
wine
the red
manis.
wine, it's not even that it's not unhealthy, it's healthy. It's a good habit to have because it keeps the arteria, the bloodstream.
But it
it's
doesn't have
healthy.
tenants.
It needs to have tannins, so always the red wines.
Always the capsaicin.
Yeah, more in the Cabernet Sauvignon.
Ya lebih ke soalnya bijinya itu yang bagus pak. Tanamnya itu bikin itu.
With the red one.
Bijinya capsaicin yang
The
bagus.
color is different.
It's called, the color is different and it's
Ya,
the
itu
juice will
penting
be white.
ditanyain gitu kan.
In a red grape, you press it, the juice is white anyway. But to make a red wine, you
Itu apa,
will keep the
oksidan?
skins
Antioksidan,
macerated
anti racun,
in
Ya,
with the juice.
antioksidan.
So you have some
racun.
components that are in the skin.
Jadi
of the
makin muda
red-
mukanya.
Iya, iya,
of the
iya.
flavor of the
Nggak ada
skin,
racun.
that will color the wine. So that's how you make red wine. But the wine, the juice are white in any case. It's very rare that you keep the skins to macerate in a white wine.
Tuh.
Because you want it macerated.
Cewek tuh,
Minum.
cewek
Itu
tuh.
tambah muda terus.
Some people do
Namun
it.
tambah muda terus nanti kaget lu.
Ya, oke.
Gila,
Some-
umur tuh
sorry.
udah 40 masih kayak 20.
Dia mau. Ya, sorry. What?
No, some people can make maceration. You can make a white wine like a red wine, but it's called orange wine, and it's very specific.
Oh,
Mostly
rosé.
when you do- when you do a white
Kalau
wine, you
bedanya
want
es wine
freshness,
apa?
so it's just you press, you make the wine.
Kanada tuh
it's
rekomend
full of
es wine.
aromas, aromatics.
Do you do ice wine here?
No,
What's the
Ada,
difference?
Kanada tuh.
we cannot.
Kanada,
No, it's we never have. We barely have snow, so the temperatures very rarely go below the
Yeah.
zero. So we don't. Quebec do has wine. Maybe
Oh,
Germany.
it must be on the cold weather.
Yeah, very. And
Canada.
if you want to make it, you need to be able. You need to plant
Nggak ada
it
di sini,
every
nggak bisa.
year.
Mahal.
So
Ya nggak bisa
yeah,
di
no, you
sini.
need cold weather for ice wine.
Cold weather harus dingin katanya.
Oke.
Why Swiss doesn't have wine?
They do in Swiss.
Switzerland.
There are many.
Oh,
Yeah, and including they have Shiraz in Switzerland. Nature.
Do you do combination with with other countries? No?
Combinations?
Like opposed one? No?
No, actually the owners here. So some owners in Bordeaux, they make partnerships with other countries.
But
Here-
you don't?
Here, no, they choose to, every project they have, they will do in France. They are very in love with France, and so
Yeah.
everything is in France. There will no partnerships. Maybe one day they will. Who knows?
How much is that?
This one?
Yeah.
Oh, let me check upstairs. Okay.
Sure.
I'll be back. One is 600
600.
V8 with the VAT. So
Ya, mahal. Mahal.
Ini berapa nih?
In the middle, how much?
the middle is, I think it's 330.
300. 300.
300 two time.
Yeah, two times.
almost.
How about the other year of the Château Haut-Brion?
Château Haut-Brion, it would be
2016.
between 500 and
Nomor 1 berapa?
500, 600, or it can go up.
Huh.
It's more expensive.
More expensive than
Yeah,
this.
because the prices went up. It's not the quality of the wine, it's the inflation and other things that make the
Inflation.
price of wine go up. So
The
you have
operation of
2014, it's a
14.
nice vintage, which is 490, I think. 460 or 490, but it's the first
2014.
first Haut-Brion.
2014.
Thank you.